Hello, this is Kim with Standing on Solid Ground. I am the host of this spiritually motivated and inspirational podcast. And today's word of the day, vessel, a hollow container, especially one used to hold liquid, such as a bowl or a cask. Now, if we look at vessel and pertaining to the word of God, we'll come across this quite a few times. So let me go to Second Chronicles 29 and 18. Then they went into Hezekiah the king and said, "We have cleansed all the house of the Lord and the altar of burnt offering with all the vessels thereof, and the shewbread table, which all the vessels thereof." Now, if we go to Revelations 18 and 12, the merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and of pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and all thine wood and all manner vessels of ivory and all manner vessels of most precious wood, and of brass and iron and marble. And then if we can look at Exodus 38 and 3. And he made all the vessels of the altar, the pots and the shovels and the basins and the flesh hooks and the fire pans, and all the vessels thereof made he of brass. When we think about vessels, we're thinking about something that's being held inside something else. When we are looking at the word vessel, we're looking at a container. We are looking at things that are being held within something else. If we look at Hebrews 9 and 21, moreover, he sprinkled with blood both the tabernacle and all the vessels of the ministry. Now, if we think about Jesus, when he stopped Paul on his way to Damascus, he called him his vessel. He called Paul a vessel of God. And so when we think about that, in that predicament, what is he saying in reference to that? That he is carrying the word of God. That he is carrying what God has filled him up with to carry out his mission. So if we look at being a vessel, we are looking at being a part of God's ministry, to be filled by God of his word to be given out to someone else. If we look at Acts 9 and 15, God is specifically talking about the Apostle Paul, formerly known as Saul, as his chosen instrument. Paul was fierce and intense. Paul was on a mission to persecute Christians before his personal encounter with Jesus changed his life. And this is found in Acts 9. Now, what is so important about this is that when we ask God to fill us, we are his vessels to be filled. And when we are his vessels to be filled, then we are supposed to be carrying around whatever God has instilled in us. When he tells us, take my yoke upon you and learn of me, he is wanting us to feel our, he wants to fill our vessels with truth, with honor, with grace, with mercy, with tenderness, with kindness. Now, if we look at 1 Peter 3:7, likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife, as unto the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered. Now, in this case, if we think the weaker vessel, I don't believe it's more, it can be in strength, but it can be also what she can hold. If we look at things men can carry versus women can carry, a man can carry a box possibly weighing 50 pounds, meaning that there is about 50 pounds worth of stuff in his box. That could be considered a vessel, something to hold or carry in. If we look at a woman can possibly carry between, let's just say, maybe 10 to 25 pounds, depending on the strength of the woman. Looking also that in that she's carrying lesser than what a man carries. Her vessel may not be as large as a man's vessel. And this is not because of what man has done. This is because of what God has done. God had did that deliberately. When we look at the word help meet, and I'm going to take a look at this because this word had also come across my mind as well in another conversation. And a helpmeet or helpmate, a helpful companion or partner, especially one's husband or wife. Sometimes whoever's salary is the dominating salary in the household, that other person's salary, along with the major salary, is that help to that greater salary. Now, in biblical terms, helpmate or helpmeet in God's terms is considered the one that is assistance to the other. If we look in English, a helper. In an English dictionary, helper. It's sometimes thought of as someone in a low position. But Xer describes strength. It suggests that the individual has power to rescue others. And so if we are looking at this, the weaker vessel, God has described, or Paul in his writings described the woman as the weaker vessel. What she can retain or carry or have within her. The vessels that we are depends on God. Are we a great vessel or a weak vessel? Paul was a chosen vessel, and he was powerful in what he did. However, the weaker vessel is not exempt from doing the work of God. I remember hearing a mother in church service one Sunday when she said, "We the wicked vessel, not the weak vessel." In other words, we're not supposed to not do anything. We're just not as composed as a man is to doing the will of God. So as we walk through life and we are understanding the terms, vessel is something or a container or cask that holds something, like a bowl holds soup, like a container can hold water. We are to be filled by God. We are to be filled with His word to carry out to others. At some point, that vessel is going to become empty. When it is empty, we are to look to God to refill it. If it's filled with unholiness, unrighteousness, wickedness, evil, anything that is unlike God, God is going to have to take that vessel and purify it, sterilize it. If we think about baby bottles, when the baby finished drinking out of the bottle, what I used to do, I had to sterilize it with extremely hot water and a drip of bleach or a drip of vinegar, a white vinegar. And if you look at vinegar, is distilled, it's pure. And I sterilize my baby's bottles. That way they would not get sick. And I did it with their nipples as well. And when it's sterilized, I am not worried about my child getting sick from a contaminated bottle or baby nipple. It's the same with God. God is going to take our vessels and purify them, sterilize them before He put anything else in it. Because any contaminants that we pick up, any bad habit, anything that we said, if we have any unforgiveness in our heart, if we have any unrighteousness in our spirit, any type of evil, God has got to get rid of that before He refills our vessels. We have to come to terms in understanding who we are to God. We are vessels. Now, Paul was a chosen vessel to be apostle. We are vessels to carry out the word of God in whatever ministry God has placed us in, whether it's in music, whether it's in teaching, whether it is in fellowshipping, ministry, a missionary work, whatever God has called us to do, we are to be vessels. Our vessels have to be cleaned daily, if not hourly. That once it's empty, any contaminants of evil has to be removed. God is not going to refill an empty vessel if there's impurities in it. Just like you're not going to drink out of a dirty glass. You are wanting to drink out of a clean glass. If that glass is dirty with anything, you're not going to drink out of it because it's not clean. And it's the same with the vessels of God. God is not going to send us out with contaminants in our vessels When those contaminants are cleaned out and God refreshes and restores and rejuvenates us, then we can go out with the word of God. But until our vessels are clean, God is not going to send us out. And if we go out on our own, we're not going out with the word of God. We're going out with whatever it is that Satan has placed in us. The word of today, vessels. This is Kim with Standing on Solid Ground. You have yourself a wonderful and blessed day.